Buenos dias. We are back for another episode of the Bamboo Season Podcast. I'm your host, Sober Wellness Coach Dorian Wormsley. Before we hop into today's guests, quick reminder that on October 27th, 12 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Health is Wealth Pink Party 2024. This is a breast cancer charity event raising money for the Las Vegas breast cancer warriors here in Las Vegas. We're going to be doing mat Pilates, shadow boxing, yin yoga, some cold plunges, vendors, some stress relief, to help raise money for this local nonprofit. The link will be in my description. If you can't make it, please just hit the link, donate $5, $10. Everything helps. We got a goal of 7,000. Now, today's guest, not sure of her title yet. We're working on that. But she is a wellness coach in the wellness space. I met her about a year ago at a speaking engagement. She's a somatic healing coach, and she also does inner childhood trauma coaching. I bring to you Genell Gorman.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure, and I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, I'm glad you were able to make the trip because you do live in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So you didn't make a trip out here to hop on this pod, just for the pod, pretty much, right?
Absolutely.
And to be on with Lorraine, which is how we met.
Yes.
We met last December. Coach Lorraine had a vision board workshop, and we were both on the speaking panel there. And that's where I came across you, and I was like, oh, shit. Inner childhood trauma.
It's everything,
coach.
Baby.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that people don't know about or are scared to handle. So just give us a little bit of insight, what you do, who
Absolutely.
are you?
Yeah.
And we'll just dive into some other things.
Great. So I'm Genell Gorman. I'm originally from Boston, but as you stated, I live in Arizona now, and I've been there for about 4 years now. So what I do with my business and my work with my clients is I really help them tackle their childhood wounds, predominantly always stemming from parents, because of course everything is foundational, right? So our parents, or we want to go into like lineage, ancestral, but on this earth right now, we're dealing with our parents. So I really help clients go into those wounds that are showing up in their day-to-day life as adults. And like you had said, a lot of people don't realize the impact of it due to society constantly reminding you, like, just focus on the future, like, just focus on your mindset. And mindset is big, but your nervous system, your body always knows. You can't escape your trauma. You can't pray your way out of your trauma. And I know that could be triggering to hear, but it's like having that faith in addition to doing the somatics and your nervous system resetting due to what you endured in childhood. So I do a lot of like nervous system regulation, inner child work, learning how to become your own inner parent, and stepping into more of your masculinity if I'm working with a man, or femininity. And again, we have both of those polarities of that energy, but it's really being able to be in tune in a balanced state of that feminine energy and yin and yang.
So with that, what you just said now, the feminine and the masculine, when you have male clients and female clients, are you helping them tap more into each if they're more one or the other? Like you have a man that's very masculine macho, you kind of help him
tap into his heart,
get into that feminine side, and vice versa on the woman's end?
Yeah, and sometimes a man is more in his feminine, which I've worked with, and I help them step into the masculine. And that's always an awesome journey because, again, that stems a lot from how their father showed up and in what he saw with his parents. And then often that's how the man sees how he's going to show up.
Interesting.
So I help either or. Like sometimes a man will be super in their masculine and not in their heart, which again, we as women, like we want a man that's in their heart as well.
Yeah.
But being that balance. And same with women. A lot of women I've worked with have that masculine, that hypervigilant control. I'm not going to let you lead due to what was instilled from them from their father.
Okay. Question then. Yeah. So we'll start on the women's side. So with women who do have that more masculine energy, correct? Mm-hmm. What, from your experience with you've had, I'm not saying everybody, but the experience of clients you've had throughout your years, what was their upbringing like? Was it an absent father and they kind of had to step up as an adult at a young age, or was there any like connection with that?
Yeah, beautiful question. So it's a little bit of that as well, but it's more so how your father showed up when he was around your mother. So if your father was constantly dealing with if your father was dealing with infidelity, or your mom was, that's your cue to not trust a man. Like if you can't trust your own father, and same thing like you just had said, if it's abandonment, like if my dad wasn't in my life ever, or he was constantly in and out, how am I going to actually trust a partner if my own dad couldn't show up for me?
Ooh.
Or if your parent was a drug addict like mine, it's like your parent is choosing that substance that they need to self-regulate with and escape from. And I know you're big, like you can talk about addiction, in order to be okay. But as a child, we can sense that. We can feel that intuitively, and it creates this belief that I'm not safe unless dad is using.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about on the male side, the ones who are very masculine but lack that piece of femininity? What's that usually their background for
Usually
that?
the mother wound, depending on how their mother was, whether their mother was like a helicopter parent, or
What's that
if
mean?
like a helicopter parent is basically like the super nurturing type parent that didn't allow you to actually like do what you want in life.
Oh, okay.
You know, like those super protective type parents. That creates a lot of trauma too, and a lot of people don't realize. Like you can't be overbearing as a parent because your child is not going to feel okay in that state of stepping into their truth and authenticity because you're living by their means. But also if you had a mother that was very critical or just like constantly dated all these different types of men, you know, I've actually in the past, like I've dated and I know subconsciously or been on dates with men I know like they have a hatred for women, but they don't realize it. And I always am so curious of how, like what a man's relationship dynamic is with their mother, because that will tell you so much. And this isn't me to say to the viewers, like, find someone only who has a good relationship with their mother. But let me tell you, there's a huge difference from a man who has healed his mother wound and now comes in, like, has a lot more respect for women versus a man who's had a good relationship with his mother the entire time.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. Like, that's something I personally look for, if I'm being honest. Unless someone has done the work. And a lot of people aren't doing the work like we had said. So they project and they like have this anger towards women.
Obviously, a lot of people don't do the work because you come across them, but I think some people might not even know that they have those issues. Because I remember when I was 2019, so 5 years ago, I was 20, how old am I, 33? Like 27, 28. And I was dating this girl. She was looking like a little witch. I don't know. She was very into crystals and tarot and offerings to the deities and stuff, very much into
different
that.
gods, all
yeah,
that
she was
stuff.
into that. And I was very close-minded at the time with that stuff. And she would always tell me about her. She would meditate and she would see herself in a past life and all this inner childhood stuff. And and at that point in my life, I was not who I am now. I was still drinking and all that kind of stuff. But I used to look at her like, girl, what the fuck you talking about, inner child? Like, what? What does that even mean?
You're like, give me another drink.
Yeah. Oh man, that's why we broke up, because we used to drink and do Adderall and get lit. And I remember she used to say, like, I don't think we should be drinking, and we always get in arguments and stuff. And it kept happening. We finally broke up. But now that I'm older and I started doing my own kind of healing and stuff, I was like, I think back of her a lot of times, like, damn, she was so ahead of the game. She was a few years younger than me too at that time. I think she was like 25, I was like 28, something like that. And it was just crazy that she already knew about the healing and how important it was and all these things. And now that I'm, you know, a little bit older now and I understand how important it is of the childhood, it can hold you back.
1,000%. And usually something like some big catastrophe needs to happen in order for you to step into it. And that was like same thing with me. Like I had to have something like wake me up, because I was just like you. Like I was partying every weekend. I was on yachts, all that fun stuff, enjoying my life.
Hot girl.
Enjoying my life, right? So I thought
YOLO.
all the material things, the Gucci, the Louis, all of that, now that I don't even care for, but everything that I needed for that external validation. And it wasn't until it no longer worked that I had to look inward. And I see that so often with people. It's like, when are you going to be sick of your own shit? Like you got to be, if you want change.
And it's unfortunate that for a lot of us, it's not until that traumatic accident or incident, event, to where you really open your eyes. And I don't know if it's in the human DNA of us as people or what, because it happens a lot. you know, you live in your life, you think everything's good, you're not doing certain things you know you could or should be doing, but then boom, somebody gets hit with cancer, somebody dies, car accident, fall out a 4-story window, fucking spouse beats your ass, whatever. Then you're like, oh damn, I gotta change a little bit.
Yeah. Or like my high level clients that I work with as well, they're multimillionaires and they are extremely depressed and deal with anxiety and don't know who they are due to having to perform for love with their parent. So I also see it on the other end too. It's not always that negative coping.
Yeah.
It generally is that. But I also see it with those high level achievers that they reach that $1 million. They reach the 5 million, the 10 million. They have the house, they have the Lamborghini, the yacht, and they're still feeling so empty inside. And that's another indicator of like, go inward.
For you, what was the event or thing that happened to where you were like, opened your eyes that you had some inner childhood issues? How'd you like learn about it, come across it? What was that happened to you to where you're like, oh shit, I gotta fix this?
Yeah. So when I was like 18, I started experimenting. My mom kind of introduced it to me, like meditation and whatnot. But I was so in my chaos that I was like, all right, I'll meditate for a week. I feel amazing. And now I'm going to go back to chaos. I never really listened. I had a life coach at 18.
What?
But I know.
Damn.
But
Who put you on that?
But ask me how good I was at listening.
18's a young age.
Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to just go be corrupt, right?
Yeah.
So even though I had those little seeds planted, it did not do justice until I actually started embodying, which is why this work is so crucial. But basically, I just continuously kept attracting men who were emotionally unavailable, like my father. And I mean, I could be in a room full of people, and the one man I attract is that one that's emotionally unavailable. It was my radar. It was like my subconscious programming of not feeling enough and needing to fight for love and to be chosen by a man, the same way I felt like I needed to be chosen by my dad. But my dad chose drugs over me. Unintentionally, but that was that subconscious belief. So I constantly was dating emotionally unavailable men time and time again. And then it came to a point that I'm just like, I'm the common denominator here.
Yeah.
Like,
you're the
I
problem.
can't keep pointing to everyone now that we were both the problems. Trauma attracts trauma, baby.
Yeah.
So basically, we just continued doing that. And then I was in a 2.5-year relationship with someone who was emotionally unavailable. And it was extremely toxic. There was like, we would block each other, unblock, show up at each other's houses. It was just so toxic. Mind you, I'm over here running like a real estate empire.
Yeah.
So talk about balance. I don't even know how I was able to do that. Like now when I look back, I'm like, how was I able to actually like be there for my clients and then deal with this relationship?
Yeah.
And it came to a point where that relationship ended and I was in a really, really dark place. I was dealing with suicidal ideation, which is something I never experienced in my entire life. This was in 2019.
Okay.
So not too long ago, but
5
not
years ago.
too. Yeah. And I was just dealing with a lot of darkness. And I realized like when people are trying to escape, like with cutting or suicide, all of that, it really helps me understand more, which is why I've been able to help my clients in such a way, because it's mainly like pain wanting to be processed, but not knowing how. So instead it creates self-destruction. I didn't get to that, but I did have suicidal ideation. And with that being said, I knew I needed to do something. And then I actually headed over to Wickenburg, Arizona. Wickenburg.
That's where you got to be careful, man. I'll talk about that in a second. Go ahead. Continue.
It was like, no, I went to a facility where Tiger Woods went, Selena Gomez, celebrities. It was very high level protection. And I went there for about 5 days. I spent over $10,000 of my own money. Nope, my mom didn't help me anything. It was my own money. And that was a time when I was just like, I remember at the time I was talking to my therapist and I was just like so depressed. I remember I was just like having a mental breakdown with her. And I was just like, no amount of money, like I can't even get emotional thinking about this. No amount of money is actually like filling this void. You know, like I didn't even care about my bank account. Like I just felt so unloved and just didn't love myself. So then I checked myself in and it was the best thing I ever could have done. And that's why I'm so big on people investing in themselves. And I'm sure you are too, even with coaching and fitness. It's like, do it and you will reap the rewards, but you got to embody it and you got to know that you're worth it. So I did that and I left the rehab, mental wellness place, you want to call it. And I freaking ran with it. My ex reached out to me even during that time. I did not respond. I was like, I'm choosing me. Like I just spent $10,000 not to go back. And the rest is history. And then I started the business and everything. But it was my breaking point. And it was just before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So it was so perfect alignment and learning how to be with myself in Boston. It was a lot.
I think that if you didn't do that and the pandemic hit how it did,
I would have been.
It would have been bad, to be honest. I think it would have been real bad.
I don't even think I would be here, honestly.
You made a great point of people investing in themselves. Me and my previous guest talked about the same thing. And it's just, I don't know, people just got to understand that concept. Like when you invest money into something, especially yourself, more than anything yourself, you are going to get the benefits.
Yeah.
Because everything is free. And I mean that in the sense of you go on YouTube.
YouTube University.
You can YouTube every single thing.
Yeah.
Everything. But we just, as humans, we don't value free.
We don't.
For example, like when I used to first start out training, I would give people free sessions because I got to, build my brand, get people in, first free session. And it's so easy for them to like flake and not come because it's free. So they'll probably just text me, hey, I'm not going to come. But if you're paying, you're going to show up. That's why when people get trainers, they pay a couple $100 a month as opposed to paying for a small gym fee like $20. It's easy not to go. It's $20. Who cares? I can wake up, I don't feel good. But you're paying $100 a session, you're not going to miss that. And
Absolutely.
I think people need to, or I don't like some what they need to do, but I think it's a good idea that if you're listening to this and watching this, that you think about where you can grow in your life, whether it's emotionally, physically, financially. Find the money you can and go invest in that type of coach. Whether it's a business coach, financial, emotional, whatever it is, because you're going to get the benefits, which is priceless. Because once you, for example, you get an emotional coach or something, that emotional self that you're not fixed in, or you're kind of a wound in a sense, like you said, like what you do, that might take your brain to another level to where it might affect your business in a positive way. Like you didn't even know, like, you were unable to make this business deal because you couldn't trust them.
My mom's critical voice was holding me back from starting this business. Like
Really?
It really is. It is like that. You're not saying mine, but that is like that. If you had a critical parent, it holds you back from all these opportunities, like you had said. And I'm totally big on that investing because I've had free things and I don't do anything with them.
Yeah, same. It wasn't until I started paying for certain things where I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
It makes sense why you got to pay to play.
Right.
And I said this before, like, you're going to pay the cost somewhere or another. You don't invest in that coach. Right now, you might feel okay. Wait a few months, wait a few years.
It's going to continue. The patterns are going to continue. Like, you will keep finding yourself in the same cycle. Inevitable. Date the same person with a different mask. That was me. I'm just like, what the? Same person, just different.
When you said earlier that you would walk into a room and attract the same kind of person, right?
Magnetize it.
I was talking to Lorraine about this, about me, because there was a point in my life, it was right after my accident, so it was like 2014-ish. There was like a 3-4 year period where I was attracting like similar type of women, and I kind of think I know why.
Why do you think so?
Not you trying to coach me.
I'm curious.
I think because, so these women were dancers, right?
Okay.
I don't go to strip clubs. Like, it's never been my thing. And just so I'd meet them through mutual friends or just shoot them, I shot in the DM, whatever. And they just so happen to be dancers. In my head, I try to judge them off that. I'm like, that's just your job. Like,
right.
You do what you do. And I think what it was is I wasn't emotionally available. So for me, in my head, because they are doing that job, I don't got to be emotionally available. Like you are with men every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of like I didn't take it as serious. It was like my window to
it's like my
creep.
safety. I'm still safe. They're like, here's my 5-foot pole.
Yeah.
We're close, but we don't have to be so serious because I know what you do and I don't have to invest fully.
And it wasn't until I got older and, went sober and all these things, so I could look back and think like, because at one point I was asking myself like, damn, how do I keep attracting these people? I don't go to those places or anything, but I would find them or they'd find me, however you want to put it. And I think I literally just thought about right now when you said it, I was like, that's why? Because I wasn't emotionally available. I didn't want to be. Yeah,
and I want to highlight that a lot of people, when they're attracting emotionally unavailable people, they tend to point the finger on someone else and not actually take accountability that, like, I'm attracting that, so I too am emotionally unavailable. And what is emotional unavailabilities? Not being available to your emotions. So when you can actually start being in tune with your own emotions, you then create a bigger capacity and you're more heart-centered, so you can hold space for others' emotions and you can come from more of an authentic lens. So I think it's so important to actually distinguish that. Like, if you're attracting someone who's emotionally unavailable, it's because you're not emotionally available to yourself due to however your parents showed you your emotions. Like, if you didn't have a safe outlet to feel your feelings, you're like, feelings are weak. No, they're not. They're actually, feelings are true strength. Like, as women, we want a man who's in tune with his emotions. And I'm sure as men, you want a woman who's also in tune with her emotions as well. Not overly, but at the same time, it's just like, that's what creates a true connection. Not that surface level type of relationship where you're not even knowing who each other are.
That's deep.
Yeah, that just came through.
Go ahead, drop a word.
That just came
anytime.
through intuitively.
And so
to share that.
So you were doing that depressive episode. You spent $10,000 in Wickenburg. What I was gonna say is about
Wickenburg. I know it was like rodeos and everything.
What I'm gonna say about Wickenburg is I always tell people this, like when you're driving from here, from Vegas to Arizona, that's where you gotta be careful because the speed limit drops to 35.
That's hilarious.
There's hella roundabouts. I told my friend this one time. We were driving to Arizona together a few years ago. And I told him, hey, bro, Wickenburg, make sure you slow down.
Wickenburg.
He didn't listen. Motherfucker was speeding through. Sure enough, we get pulled over. He had the nerve to tell the cop, oh, man, I got to take a shit. And I was in a rush. The cop was like, oh, there's 2 gas stations right there. He let us off. But still, Wickenburg is very...
So now you're scarred?
Yeah. It's a lot of roundabouts.
The speed limit change?
And that, catapulted your healing journey for yourself.
Yeah,
and
I did a lot of work on myself first.
You said you kickstarted your business. What was your business at the time that you started to develop?
I was in real estate. I was like a rental director for Sotheby's in Boston. Okay. And after I started this journey, I was just like, and obviously the pandemic hit. Real estate was weird and eerie, and due to no one knowing what was going on with the market. So then I decided, I was already starting that personal development journey. So I took about a year or so to like really integrate what I was teaching, like before I started teaching it, because I'm a firm believer of like, we must embody what we teach. And I took the time to actually do the inner child, all of that stuff, inner parent. And then I was praying night and day, like I kid you not. Like, everyone listen to the story because it's so real. Everyone's like, how did you become a father mother wound coach? Like, that's so clear and so precise. Well, I was praying night and day for literally a month straight. Like, God, just show me what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, show me, please. I will take you with me. Just show me. Kid you not, about a month in, I heard this voice, fatherless daughters. And the rest was history. I was able to just like channel an entire program and everything. It just flowed so perfectly. And that's why I did it. I didn't sign up for this. I truly believe my soul did. And that's why sometimes I struggle with accepting it, because it's like, this is a big, like, trauma work is big, and a lot of people don't want to do it or deal with it, and being a trauma-informed coach it's such a blessing, but it can be heavy on you when you're going through your own trauma. But so many people like to work with me also because they know I've experienced what I've gone through, not only with that and my eye and everything, which we can go into in a bit, but it's just like, they see that I've lived it and I've done it, and I'm not just like only reading the books. And there's nothing wrong with the education, because I do have some education, but I'm also like fully experienced in it. It's just like, I hear you, I know. So that's just like the biggest thing to keep in mind.
You made a great point of having the knowledge, but experiencing it. I think any kind of field of coach or mentor or something, I think you're going to them based off their experience, and not necessarily the education aspect. Obviously, just because you experience something, you know everything, you definitely want to do some type of research and, know some stuff. But like, even for me with my fitness side of things, now I'm 5 years in, there's some stuff I know just off the experience that the book didn't teach you. The book teaches you exercises and this and this and that, but it don't teach you how to deal with women and their emotions when it's that time of the month and they come in feeling some way, or when a woman comes in and she's had a breakup, or the woman comes in, she's stressed because her kids got her fucked up, or baby daddy. Yeah. And that's what I've had to learn over 5 years, which I love, but navigating that and knowing how to tap into that person differently. Because
be in your heart and be there and be present.
There's days they're gonna come in and they're gonna feel on top of the world and like, let's go. I want you to fuck me up today. Like, let's go heavy. then there's days they barely make it. You know, it was a struggle for them to get there. And that's one thing only experience is going to be able to teach you. Like over 5 years, I've been able to like see and navigate, because most of my clients are women, which I love because I get to have like 15 girlfriends at once. And it's respectfully, like I'm not one of those trainers, but I like to learn from them in a sense, because it's 15, 20 different women with different personalities,
So
different backgrounds. Some are mothers, some are married, some are single. I like to take the information. So the day I do date and something like that, I'm going to be prepared. Like I got some knowledge. And then even with the sober wellness coaching that I do, when I first started, I had the imposter syndrome as well. Like you mentioned off camera before we got on.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I didn't go to AA counseling. I never went to school for that or anything. But then I was like, but I'm here 1,000 days with no alcohol. So I know something.
Exactly.
I know how to get there. And that's what I decided and clicked the switch. I'm like, okay, I got to do this, because if I go on there and I say, yo, I got this PhD and blah, 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 they might rock with it. But when I tell them my story, that I fell out a 4-story window, that I was drunk and woke up at Walgreens across the street, my friend found me, all these stories of me with my drunkenness, and they see the change, that's proof in the pudding right there. Like, oh, this dude knows.
Amen. That is
I've been there, and, you know, I see where he's at now. There was something I was going to ask you.
I want to just honor you for that.
What?
That whole experience that you just shared. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I know that's your story, but I want to just honor you for that, because
Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage to be sober, you know, and
It
not
does.
escape. And sometimes we have tough days. We still do. I know I do. And it's like in the past, you'd go to that, and instead it's actually sitting with yourself and processing and not allowing the demons, you want to say, like take over, and instead kind of have that willpower within yourself to have discernment.
It's part of it is being willing to be uncomfortable, because when we do feel that
Life.
Yeah, when we do feel those emotions and whatever rough day, I should whine, it'll be nice right now. It's like we're almost on autopilot, to where we go to what makes us feel good every time. We run from discomfort in any way. You run from it. You know, working out doesn't feel the best, so people don't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The trauma healing, it doesn't feel the best, so people avoid it. You know, and we all as humans do it. And at some point, you, like you said earlier, you got to be sick of your own shit. You know, you keep running from it, it ain't going nowhere. I like to tell people, be a bison. You know, go through the storm, because the faster you go through it, the sooner you go through it, you're gonna get to the other side of it, because it's never gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, wherever you run, there you are.
Yeah, because even when
Literally.
you heal it. It's this. It's probably not the funniest thing, but it's interesting, because once you heal it, it's like, oh, and then it's another door.
Oh, it never
You know what I mean?
ends.
And it's just like, because now your brain opens in different ways.
Never ends.
I don't know the science behind it, but from my personal experience, I felt like, okay, I fixed this issue or situation, got better in this part, but then, oh shit, that too? And then you go here. Then you think you're ready and healed or whatever, and then you get around somebody or something, and then they trigger you. And you think, I dated a girl and I told her this. We're having some communication issues, right? And at this point in my life, I had read books on it, everything. I was very intentional about improving my communication and not just jumping ship when things go rocky. And she was ready to jump ship, right? And I told her, I was like, well, look, I get it. People think that they need time away from dating or people to heal. And I'm like, yeah, you do. You probably need some time to yourself, but you really don't know how healed you are until you're in front of somebody in a romantic relationship or friendship, and they trigger you. What people do, oh, I can't. I got to cut you off. No, you got to figure it out. Okay, why am I triggered? Why? How can I communicate to them where they got me fucked up at? That's where the healing is. Take your time to yourself, which is good. But just because you avoid relationships for a long time or avoid whatever for a long time.
It's also a trauma response. It can be a trauma response. I love that you said that, because that is so accurate. Sometimes I feel like we hear this notion of you have to be healed to be in a relationship. It's like, that's when the school starts. That's when the school starts. That's when the lessons start, and the teachings, and integrating what you were like teaching yourself or learning or healing from when you were on your own. You know, relationships are such teachers. Like, there's so much teaching in it. But like you had said, as opposed to running, because that's what a lot of people do. They'll run, they'll sabotage. Like, I've seen it with men and other women. They're just like, I can't do this, I'm done. It's like, no, you're just going to keep finding it again. Or I need to go escape, and whatever that looks like. And they just, you know, you can't run from yourself.
And so you started your business in real estate. Then that turned into what?
This coaching, this business of healing. Because that's when I started my personal development journey. And then I prayed, and then I got that.
Oh, that's right. I kind of got lost for a second. No, but yeah, you said you prayed. They told you fatherless daughters.
Yep. Then it started with a fatherless daughter program. And then from there, I was helping move through. And again, it was so present for me then.
Yeah.
Because that was like my lifeline. I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
Like, I needed to work on this to be sober.
Yeah.
From being okay, like to be okay. So it was so close to my heart. It still is, but it's a different way. And I would love to share that, is like when you start a business and it was so deep and passionate. And as years progress, like you start shifting, you start molding and changing. It's still there, but it's not as passionate. So I did that. I have been doing that. And it's just been a journey in itself. And as I was helping fatherless daughters, I was helping those who like never had their father in their life, like at all.
Yeah.
And then I started branching off to more father wound work. And then I had clients that were like, oh, can we do my mother wound as well? And I'm like, sure. I don't have a mother wound, but surely enough, I definitely had a mother wound as well. And again, it's interesting because my mother was a single mother of 3 kids that raised me. And you would think like, your mom did the best she could, which my mom did, I truly believe. But that doesn't mean it. I was still missing out on so much. Like, one parent cannot be a mother and father. Like, it's not possible for that one parent to fulfill the needs of both. So there is going to be wounds. So then there was that. Then I started healing my own mother wound, and then I started taking clients on. So then I started like transferring into both mother and father wound work.
So as you went, I can only imagine, I haven't been in the space you're in, but even just with fitness space, when I have all these women clients, I gotta, it's a lot of energy. So for you, with that deep emotional work you're doing with people while you're doing it for yourself, I imagine this gets heavy. It gets like overwhelmed, stressed, and like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's always needing to really do the tools and stuff to stay like emotionally, keep my mental health like intact, because I've gone through my own journey. And dealing with others who are going through their journey. It's such a beautiful way to hold space and to facilitate. I love that. But it's also like holding their stuff, holding my stuff of just being a human, whether it's like I'm in a relationship, or I just had a falling out with a friend, and we just went different ways, just amicably, whatever that is, you still have to show up for your client. And I don't think people realize, like, when you're doing that deep work, or even like with you in coaching, it's like you still have to show up. You have to, it's not that you have to fake it and put it aside, but you do have to be present for your client. And it's just like this dance, I think, of like but then being a human being. And I think the biggest thing that I've like started recently learning with like my mentor is accepting myself for where I am, regardless of the capacity that I'm in. So if I'm on my period and I'm like, I'm going to show up 50, 65%, this is me showing up the best I can with where I am. So not allowing that perfectionist that I've struggled with in the past, and sometimes still do, take over.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I'm ovulating. Oh, I'm feeling 100%. And then I can show up. But instead, it's not comparing myself back to where I am from the past, and instead accepting myself for where I am in this present moment, and trusting that they're getting exactly what they need and the version of me that they need, because I'm human. And the last thing you want is, and probably same with you, the last thing you want is your clients to look at you as like a god or a hierarchy or whatnot. Like, no, I'm human. I'm just helping guide you, give you the tools, but you're doing it, and God, universe, whoever that is backing you with it. Like, you are your own healer. I truly believe. I don't believe I heal people. I believe I teach you the tools. You go inward, and then God, spirit, guides you to heal.
I agree with what you said about showing up in the way you can that day. Because to me, I believe it's about consistency, not perfection. And to me, perfection doesn't even exist. I think about this all the time. It's a made up fucking word.
What is perfect?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's very subjective. It's an opinion. Like, I don't even like using that word. One phrase I have started to not like is, well, I'm not perfect, but you know what I mean? And people will say that before they say something. And I'm like, bro, that perfect doesn't even exist. Maybe you are perfect to me, whatever kind of way you are, coach or person or whatever. But
Sometimes you're perfectly imperfect, and that's what brings out. That's what creates people to actually be more attracted to you because you're not pretending, And that's something in the past I was doing. Like I was pretending, like I have it all together. I have the real estate. No one knew I was in this really dysfunctional relationship other than my close friends. It looked so good. All the material things were there, but what's really going on behind the scenes?
With all the heavy work that you take on and stuff like that with clients and yourself we just mentioned, how's your mental health now? I know in the past you did the $10,000 thing to really get you out of the deep space. But now that you've been in this game for a while, you've taken probably hundreds of clients, hundreds of stories, hundreds
retreats. I host retreats.
So it's like now at this point in your life right now, how's your mental health currently?
My mental health is good, but again, it's a constant work. I always tell clients it's just like physical fitness. It's emotional fitness. I have to continue at it and not fall off because then the struggles do come back. So it's a way of living. It's a way of being. And some days are hard, some days aren't. Like I'm human, but it's having that self-compassion for myself of where I am and just trusting that like this is temporary. As we're going through changes, like that's been my ever since I turned 27, Saturn return. I don't know if you know about that, but I didn't really believe in it.
Saturn return?
Saturn return. It's like
between
to 27 to like 30.
Microwave?
Apparently mine's like 32. It's like when things just start like not falling apart, but like your identity, things start falling together. Let's say not apart, but things need to fall to the ground for things to start being birthed again. And that's just been a journey of itself. But it's like accepting myself through all parts and reminding myself it's temporary and just having that faith and trust. God has been a big, big, big help. And I've steered away from God and not religion because my perspective of God is different from religion. Like I have a relationship with God and that's my relationship. I'm not going to allow anyone to infiltrate anything to me of how I should or shouldn't be unless it feels in alignment. But it's like my relationship with God has really helped me keep that intact. And I would love to hear with you if it's like if you have a higher power or whatnot, and how does that keep you sober? Or do you feel... I know that may be touchy, but I'm just curious because when I steer off from
for me,
faith,
I'm not religious. I was baptized Catholic as a kid, but as I got older, never was raised in church or anything like that. As a kid, we were homeless. Mom was by herself raising us, and I don't think there was no time to really instill that into me as a family belief system or anything.
Right.
She was always on grind modes, and I'm always just trying to stay out the way, not be a burden to her. And then as I got older, I never got into any religion or anything. I just was living life, never thought about it. And then as of now, I believe there's something out there. Don't necessarily know what or who, she, he, whatever, they, them, whatever you want to call it, whatever. It might sound crazy, but I kind of don't think about it too much.
No, it's not.
I kind of think about now while I'm here. So what can I do while I'm here to add value to others and just be the best human I can while I'm here? And it's been interesting for me when people ask me about it or I even think about it because with my accident, right? A lot of things people will say is like, "Oh my God, God has a plan for you," or, God, this and this, and I'm like,
"Did you see heaven?"
No, but kidding. I'm like, okay, I get that. But I feel like some people sometimes only bring that up when it's something good happens. But then when things don't go their favor, it's why God, me? Why me? Why is this happening?
Absolutely.
But then when it's me falling out of 4-star window and I survive, it's, oh, God has a plan for you. 9 months later, my closest friend, similar situation, he didn't make it. So then what way do we play with that?
Yeah.
That's the only reason when I've questioned things like that is just
I don't have
situations
the answer
like
to
that.
that.
No, I don't expect you to.
But I totally understand, like, in regards to, and I accept wherever everyone is, right? And it's just like, that's my thing. But it's like whatever's keeping you sober and whatever's keeping you emotionally healthy. And I think that's the biggest thing.
That's what I say to whether
it's universe, like any of that.
One thing I give credit to is myself with everything. I got myself out the hospital. Whoever you believe in, you think they did, cool, that's your belief. But me, I was there, I experienced it. I had to do steps and things to get out of that. And I'm always gonna give myself credit first before anything because I believe we're in control of our choices.
Our thoughts, everything.
Yeah, and
our life.
I don't know. That's where I stand on it. But I agree with you on the sense of I don't judge others. I don't care what they believe in. As long as you're not hurting people, you're not a fucking pervert.
As long as you're doing good and being of service.
Yeah,
That's what helps us feel good.
Surprisingly enough, there's been times not too long ago, more recently, where I've tried to date and stuff. And when I give them that answer or whatever, they don't fuck with me. Like if I'm not going to church and reading the Bible and stuff, which I don't think is bad. That's their preference, the kind of man they want. This is not for me or not what I'm into. But I tell them the same thing. I don't care if you go to church every Sunday, good for you. Like, go. If that's helping you maintain your well-being
and feeling good,
I support it. Whatever it is, as long as it's not vices, like you're not doing liquor all the time, you're not doing weed all the time, you're not watching porn all the time, like those type of things, then, you know, teach his own. Like, do what you do.
I agree.
Because even though I'm not super religious, don't read the Bible or anything like that, there are certain speakers I follow who they do read it and they use it. And there's some good words in there.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.
No, yeah, there's some real good shit in there. And it's like, oh, fuck, okay, I like that. I know about Peter stepping out into the water. And
hey.
Yeah, I know a little bit of stuff. You know, I know one about, what's the other one?
There's also the fish one.
Is it Elijah had to strike his sword 3 times?
I don't know. I'm working on reading the Bible.
And then David
more.
had to like master the slingshot before something. I don't know. But there were some parts that I'll hear them and I'm like, oh shit, okay. I rock with that.
Right.
So one thing I want to ask you that I didn't know until recently when you were texting me before coming on here, you have a prosthetic eye.
I do. It's super bionic. I do.
Can you take it out?
I can take it out. Should I take it out right now? I'm not taking it out.
Oh my God. Do you need to wash your hand?
But I can take it out. I don't.
You don't want to?
Right now.
Okay, I'm sorry if that's rude. Sorry.
No, oh my God, that's not rude at all.
Okay,
I've accepted it. But if you had asked me that like 6 years ago, I probably would have cried.
So initially, when I first met you, and then even just I follow you on social media and stuff like that, we chat here and there. I honestly just thought, okay, she has a lazy eye, and because you wear glasses, and I get it because I have a lazy eye too sometimes. I don't know if you can see it,
He's
camera.
Literally trying to make
when I was drunken in pictures, you would see it. It's fucking over here.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I thought. And then we're texting the other day, and you told me like, oh yeah,
we can
prosthetic.
talk about my
I'm like, prosthetic eye. So what happened?
That's so funny.
At what age? And yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. And also, it's so interesting because I'm sure that a lot of people think that, but they don't bring it up unless I speak of it. But I have had people bring it up, like, oh, some people don't know how to do it, and they're like, what's up with your eye? I'm like, can you have been a little more gentle? Like, you're lucky I've accepted it.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I would have been horrified.
Yeah.
So basically, when my mom was pregnant, she had chicken pox, and they think that something happened when I was I believe, in vitro. So while I was in her womb, and I was born, and then my parents, about like 6 months in, started seeing that I wasn't kind of looking to my left side. I was not as dominant as the right side. And they thought it was, so then I was in Boston, thank God. So they brought me to Boston's Children's. Like, I was in Boston's Children's like all the time growing up.
Yeah.
So then I was terrified of hospitals. And then ironically, I became an EMT. Weird how that works. But basically, they thought it was retinoblastoma, which is eye cancer. So then they put me under anesthesia at 6 months old, which is like so intense for a child.
Damn.
Like, it could go really wrong. And they ruled that out. And instead, they said they think it was just an infection. But I've never been able to see out of my left eye. So people are like, how do you drive? All that. I'm like, I drove an ambulance. I mountain bike. I used to be a bikini competitor, all of that. And I've been able to do so much. And it's just all I know. But it was a really big insecurity of mine. Almost bigger than getting over my parental wounds and moving through that, because it's my eyes.
Yeah, you can hide the wounds. You can't really hide.
And you look in the soles of the eyes. That's how you see the souls. So growing up, is like, that's when I got so big into fitness, and I had my own fitness business at 18. Like, I became a bikini competitor. I used my body physique wise for people to be like, oh my God, you have such a nice body, nice physique. So they could avoid looking at me through that deep lens and deep eye contact of the soul. And I would try and deflect that so often. So that's what that external validation with that fitness came in. That's why I often say, make sure you're working out for yourself, not for that external validation, because then you're just feeding a wound. And that's what I did. You know, like I competed in all that stuff and I was still super empty inside. But long story short, yeah, I kind of tried to do things externally so people didn't have to look through my eyes. And eventually I ended up accepting it and like, this is just who I am. But there were times where I felt like I'd go on dates with people and then I wouldn't hear from them again. And I was just like, oh, it's because of my eye. Like, oh, it's because of my eye. Or, oh, they just want to try and hook up with me because of my eye. Like, I would make up all these
like
excuses.
What? They would hook up with you just because you have a prosthetic eye?
They would try to want to only hook up and not commit.
Oh, because of your eye.
Because of my eye. Like, all of these stories
like
that I would input. What did you say about fetish?
I thought you were sounding like a fetish.
Oh,
like,
no.
yeah, I had a fake eye, so you wanted to hook up.
Who knows? But no, and that's been that journey of like not feeling beautiful because of it. Now I've accepted.
How do you feel now? You feel beautiful?
I feel beautiful.
Do you?
Inside and out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And that's,
so wait.
I can actually say that because in the past, it's like anyone could say you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe it internally, it doesn't freaking matter.
So hold on. Is your eye there?
I love these questions. I've never really been asked these questions. I'm all for it. So basically what they did is there was always a cataract over my eye. One eye was larger than the other. Of course, it was underdeveloped. And then going into high school, just before I went into high school, which I believe, I don't even know, what grade is like ninth grade?
Ninth.
So 8th grade, I got the surgery done, which my dad passed away when I was 9, which I know that's totally different. But not having my dad either in my life and not having that, like, you're beautiful from the masculine was a huge thing. Like, my mom would tell me that, but I needed that from a man. But basically, I got the surgery where they take out, they keep the muscle intact, but they take out like the cornea and the white. So if you ask me what's behind it, it's basically just like the pinkness of the inside of your mouth is kind of like that color.
Okay.
It doesn't look creepy, but basically that's what it is. But if I take it out, it just shuts, and then I have to and I take my prosthetic out maybe once a month. I should do it more, but I only do it when it bothers me.
Okay, so...
More questions, please.
Okay. So when you take it out, it's like...
Yeah, it's literally like, it's not a ball. Like, people think it's an eyeball. Like, it's not
that's
like
what I was
that.
thinking.
No.
Shit.
No, it's more like a shell, like a half of a shell.
Okay.
And then I just put it in, and they paint this. It's all hand painted, all of that. They match it to my other eye. There is still some movement. Yeah. And that's why people often mistaken it for a lazy eye. But yeah, it's all hand painted and custom.
At what age did you get that?
8th grade.
So like before 8th grade, what was it like?
It was smaller than the other. I didn't have, it was just like it was just smaller. It was like a green eye, like a cataract.
And you couldn't just see out of it?
Never. And then there was like bullying that I dealt with.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
bro, I can only imagine. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, there was bullying that I dealt with, and not feeling loved and not feeling worthy, feeling like people never wanted to commit to me or be in a relationship with me. And then now I'm like out of that, and I'm like embracing it. And it's so interesting when you truly embrace yourself, and more people want to be with you because you're embracing who you are authentically, and that's magnetizing. So going through that journey was a lot. And actually it was in Sedona. When I lived in Sedona, I was just like, I need to go into this. Like, this has been a shadow for my whole life that I've been avoiding and trying not to talk about. But going into it, I remember like we would be in groups of people talking. I remember I was hosting a women's circle, and it was like embodying your insecurities. And I remember like it was a group of 20 women who I knew. I couldn't even get the words out. Like, I could not even articulate. Like, I was like, and I don't ever get choked up. Like, I could not voice what I wanted to tell them. And then I did, and I got emotional. Now I can talk about it because I've moved through that point. And that's the biggest thing, is moving through those pain points as opposed to avoiding them. Because when you're like, oh, I don't want this person to look at my eye, they're going to, because you're like subconsciously attracting that. Yeah. You know, what you like fear is what people see.
What about, so with dating now, or as you got older and stuff, and after you accepted it, is this something that comes up initially? Like, are they able to notice right away, or?
I'm sure they can notice right away, but
Really?
they don't say anything. Well, some people actually
I didn't fucking notice. I
some
thought, like,
people
some lazy
actually
eye.
don't. Yeah, actually, some people don't. I think it really depends. Like, if someone's self-critical of themselves,
Yeah.
they're gonna see it on me because that's just them mirroring and projecting how critical and judgmental they are of themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't usually talk about it unless like it comes in context. Like, I'm not like, fun fact. Well, maybe I think I've done that like once. Fun fact, I have a prosthetic eye. But it's also just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And then how's your vision in the other eye?
It's really good. But I have glasses to protect it. Like, if
Oh.
God forbid something happened, I would be blind and my whole life would be so.
Oh, shit.
You know, we're not going to put that out there. But like,
No,
then
you're
it
right.
would be a whole life change.
Yeah. My grandfather recently went blind in one eye this summer.
Glaucoma?
Or no.
Or what was it? Or diabetes?
No, he just turned 80, but earlier this year, or maybe it was last summer, he was working on his car, and when he was, some tool slid all the way down and cracked his shit. And now at 80 years old, one of his eyes went whatever. He's not tripping though. He's like, I'm living regular still.
And it's a journey. Like, I'm grateful that I had it this whole time. I often like joke and I'm like, I got stabbed in the eye. Like, I wanted to tell a cooler story.
Damn.
But unfortunately, that's what happened. And I think that added to my mother wound, to be honest. I actually just came through like last week. I was getting a session done, a healing session, massage session. And my healer was like, do you think you used to have like more anger towards your mom due to the fact that you were like being attacked by this infection when you were in her womb? And I was like, that's so deep. And honestly, that could make sense because I felt so unsafe in the womb due to that infection with the chickenpox that was attacking my eye and the development of my eye. I know that's a whole other conversation.
What the fuck?
Yeah. But I've been able to accept it. And honestly, like, I think it makes me and makes me unique.
Hell yeah.
And I know every time I tell people, it's like they're more, like, not more into me, but they're more, like, attracted to, like, me embracing myself.
No, I think
And
so.
if they don't want to be with me because of my eye, like, you have bigger problems, sir.
Damn. We're up here in a second, but right now with what you're doing and stuff, like what do you got going on now with your coaching? What do you plan to do in the future with your coaching?
Yeah. Right now I'm feeling a shift, and shifts can always be scary, but I believe there's so much power in shifts and in trusting the body and trusting the development and transition of where you are in life. Like I had said, I'm not that same person I was when I started my business. I am a whole different woman, and I am so in love with this new woman. I have my days still, but I'm so in love with who I've become. And I'm really in this like deep feminine, soft girl, still wanting to help people, but helping women like step more into their femininity and allowing men in, safe men in to, you know, have a deep divine union of one another. So right now I'm still taking some clients, but I'm very, very limited. I'm hosting a group coaching right now, and I'm just kind of allowing God to speak through me for my next transition. But trusting that the next transition is going to be exactly where I need to be, because I feel like we're always evolving and we're always growing, and we're not meant to stay exactly the same. And I see so many people doing that, like myself, and it creates more suffering when you're not listening to that intuitive pull that it's time for change. And now I'm just like fully surrendering and just letting go of control. And I'm just like, all right, whatever happens is going to happen. And I just want to be that voice for people and help people realize that like you are enough regardless of what you've gone through, regardless of what ailments you've gone through. Like I speak at conferences of those who have prosthetic eyes. And I had seen a message yesterday of someone saying like, can I still be an influencer or a public speaker if I have my prosthetic? Obviously I commented back.
Yeah.
And I was like, you absolutely can. Like I said, I'm on podcast shows. I host women's retreats. I've spoken on stages. I'm like, absolutely. And do not let that stop you. But it's like, those are the thoughts that people have when they have like ailments or they're insecure and they're fearful of stepping in, of being judged. It's like, fucking let them judge, because they have more issues of them judging that they're not going into within themselves. You know, so instead they're going to project and point and criticize others because they're afraid of what is inside of them that they are being asked to go into.
I'm very proud of you for understanding you're going to shift into something, you know, whatever life takes you. I think you're right, because it's about evolving. Nobody stays in one particular thing forever.
And I'm really just cherishing, like, I want a family. I want a husband. Doesn't mean that I won't, like, business and personal is very different. But, you know, I'm on my third business now, and I started all of that to be more my masculine because I didn't trust men due to not having trusted my dad. And I just realized it was a trauma response. Like, I need to be successful to be loved. I need to also be successful to hold my own. Like, I need to do all this. And now, after I've done so much of my father wound work, I'm just like, wow, no, I'm ready for, like, an emotionally available masculine to, like, lead in a healthy way, you know, and drop into my, like, nurture and not being controlling. Because so many women who've gone through this trauma, they're controlling. I used to be so controlling. I still have to be mindful of that.
I can see it.
You know? And it's a trauma response.
How much time we got left, Juan? All right.
You know, it's a trauma response. It's not intentional, but how long are you going to continue to allow control to overpower your life? Because that's not going to give you the love that you desire. You're going to constantly be in survival and hypervigilant states, and you're not going to ever really allow true divine union of relationship to happen. And I think that's truly, like, what we're meant for this life to be. Like, I believe that we're meant to be in a relationship. And when someone says, oh, I'm fine single, that's trauma. I'm sorry to say. And that's an unpopular opinion, but that's my opinion. I truly believe it's
very
like,
unpopular.
It's important to be by yourself, right? But at the same time, I truly believe, like, when we're in a relationship, like you had said, that's where so much healing happens. That's where you start shifting and molding into the man or woman you're being cultivated to be. Like, there's so much power in that and so much greatness. Yeah, it's a journey. It's not easy. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like we're meant to do life with others, even though we come into this world alone and leave alone. But it's like the relationships that we create throughout those experiences are everything.
You went in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. You know, you're a woman with some doing great things.
Yeah.
And the work you do isn't easy. I think any coach out there understands how it is being a coach. It ain't just, we're doing this for you and then you leave. It's like, it takes a lot of energy to want to take on other people's energy and to want to help them fix themselves as well while you're
always fixing me.
while you're always fixing yourself, but not only fixing yourself, but you have responsibilities. You know, you got to make sure your bills are paid and all these things, your personal life, but you still choose to be of service of others. And yes, it's kind of people I want to have on my show. People who are doing things to add value to others, you know, who other people need to hear, you know, like you need to hear what this woman is about or what she does. And yeah, you're going to shift into something great. I mean, back to that.
It's so scary.
One of the favorite, where's he at? Kobe Bryant, he was in the league 20 years, you know, and anybody who watches sports, I don't know if you do or not, in his first years, he was high flying, dunking and all these things. But as he aged, that goes. So he had to evolve and change and, you know, change his game a little bit, but still be effective. So same with you with your business. Even though you're shifting a little bit, you could still be the great player.
Absolutely.
But just in a different way. Even the iPhone has changed over years to where you don't even get a fucking, I don't even know what's up now.
You have to always change your charger.
Yeah.
You always have to buy a new charger.
Even Quan. I think Quan said he started off as rapping and now he runs a fucking amazing podcast studio.
Right. It's just letting go and trusting that, like, the next thing
Hope
is
that's
there.
right.
You know, because I think the biggest thing is not knowing the next thing, so we stay. And that was me. Like, you hold on, you grab, because you're like, oh my God, I don't know, this is scary.
Yeah.
But then you're suffering because you know you're being asked to be moved or switch and transform and change, but you don't. You're in the unknown. You're in that darkness. So instead, you're like, I'm just going to stay here and stay complacent, even though it doesn't feel in alignment with my soul anymore. And it's stepping into that darkness and trusting that, like, we don't say darkness, but it's stepping into that unknown and trusting that intuitive hit, that voice, that new creation, that new business idea, or whatever that is going to come through at the right time versus staying in that stuck space. And that's what I'm in the middle of, like, learning. I'm just like, okay, I'm taking one step and I do not see the step in front of me. That's how I feel.
Oh, a great quote for you at the end of this. So as we finish up here, one question I like to ask people at the end of the show is, what's one piece of information, short and sweet, that you could give somebody listening or watching that can help them transform and grow as a person?
One piece of information. I would say no matter how old you are, no matter how much damage you feel like you've done in your life, there is always opportunity for you to choose yourself and for you to grow and make yourself a priority. So it doesn't matter if you've been divorced and have 3 kids, or you've been alone, or you've been to jail, or if you've robbed people or whatnot. Like, you can be a new person every day, and it's a matter of taking that conscious decision and choice of wanting to take those action steps. So I don't want you to hold on to like, oh, well, I'm fucked up, I've done so much. Like, those are the people that make the changes. Those are the people who actually want to listen to, because you have a story. It's not like you came from a cookie cutter life and then you're like, oh, no, like, people want that. That's what makes you real. That's what makes you amazing and the person that you are. But it's transmuting that. So I would say just like knowing that you are worth choosing yourself and worth the life that you deserve by taking that first step, whether it's fitness, whether it's mental health. I mean, both of those go hand in hand. That's what helps with the nervous system regulation. It's like exercise, eating good, drinking enough water, regulating your nervous system. Like, those are all what balance you out and how you embody and go through life.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're wrapping up here. I'm going to tag or add her information to the description also for the breast cancer event. And then I'm going to leave you with the word that came to mind as she said it, about when you're trying to evolve as a person and step into that new thing that you're unsure about. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. MLK, baby. BLM. 2 words. Keep growing.